Well, hello, greetings, everyone. It's Nicole, your debt diva. And if you're just tuning in and you have yet to see any of my recordings, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm with a company called Lana Solutions, and I've been helping people with debt elimination and credit education for a very long time, let's say that. I started in the early 2000s, and I've been in a position just to really help people and bless people, especially nonprofits. I work with some amazing nonprofits, just to give a shout out to a few of them, because you may not even know about them. Chariots for Hope. They help eliminate transportation barriers. So if you're dealing with any type of transportation barriers, look up Chariots for Hope here in Omaha, Nebraska. And they have some other locations. They are expanding, and they should be, because what they do for the community of Omaha is simply amazing. So if you're like me and you do any kind of scrolling, you can find them on TikTok, Facebook. They even have a YouTube channel. That's Chariots, the number 4, and then Hope. Chariots for Hope. Look them up if you know of anyone that's dealing with transportation barriers. Who's someone else I'd love to give a shout out to? Carol's House of Hope. Carol is a dear friend of mine, her and her husband, and they actually have been helping the community, giving single mothers, if I'm not mistaken. Now, they've probably changed over the years. You'll have to look them up as well. Carol's House of Hope. If you are a foster kid or someone who's been adopted, especially single moms, and you have no place to live, and you're just trying to kind of get on your feet. What happens a lot of times with children that have been adopted, they age out of the system, and then they have nowhere to go. If that's you or someone you know, reach out to Carol's House of Hope. Those are just a couple nonprofits I wanted to give you before I get started. Again, I'm Nicole Ryan, and I've been able to help people with debt elimination and credit education for a number of years. I come to you today and I want to talk about some of the debt all Americans have dealt with at one time or another. And this may not be your story, but I guarantee you it's the majority of us, and statistics prove that. So the first thing that I would like to talk about, well, I'll give you the list so you can kind of prepare yourself. That way I don't lose you if this is something that you want to hear more about, because there are resources out there that you can tap into. And that's something big that I've been blessed to do. I'm kind of like a mediator, a liaison, where I've been able to connect people and help them over the years. So I'll talk a little bit about medical debt. Yeah, if that's you, medical debt. I'll touch base on student loans. And then I'll even talk about automobile debt and financing if time allows. So I'll go ahead and get started right away. Debt diva. Debt diva, that's just a name. The way I grew up, I felt like diva, debt diva fits, because I'm one of those people, when it comes to debt elimination, I am like a pit bull. And when I say that, I say it because there's always been that fear of finances and debt for so many people, at least the clients that I've dealt with. And I like to remove that fear and show you that, you know what, you too can bark and bite, and you don't have to deal with debt anymore. It seems so big and scary, especially if you've been dealing with it for a number of years. I get it. It's an overwhelming feeling sometimes for many of us that no matter how hard you try to eliminate it, it seems to continue to source. Well, guess what? That doesn't have to be for the rest of this year, 2024 or beyond. So let's start today by getting the wisdom, the education, and the knowledge we need so that we can start to apply it. I gave you 2 nuggets earlier. Chariots for Hope, transportation barriers. Carol's House of Hope if you're dealing with any type of rental issues, if you're a single mom and you've aged out of the adoption or the foster care system. Now I want to talk to you about medical debt. 8% of U.S. adults have medical debt, and 14% of medical debts are above $10,000. Medical debt. We all have some type of medical expense. These are expenses that can be traditional, where you get your annual checkup, right? I would hope at least once a year, if not twice a year. And then you have some of the unexpected medical debt, where you're dealing with terminal illnesses or diseases that are ongoing and something that you haven't been used to, or maybe you have, because some of it is generational, where you have loved ones that have dealt with it. One thing I can tell you about medical debt is you need to take the time to study your itemized statements when you get those bills, so that you know what you have to pay and what you don't have to pay. So for those of us that are working and we're paying our PPOs or any type of insurance that's automatically most of the time coming out of our paycheck, whether it be for family or for individuals, we have to take the time to really study those expenses and see what we're paying and why we're paying. Because what you'll find in a lot of cases is that we're either overpaying or we're not utilizing benefits that can make things a lot easier for us. Now, why do I say that? I say that because I do a lot of medical and debt negotiating, and I've come to find out some of the debt that clients are dealing with is debt that could have been avoided had they tapped into maybe a health savings account. But because a lot of times we don't dare to even look into stuff like that, we just figure it's not for us. But what you'll find out with maybe a health savings account is that not only will it help you as far as the way it's taxed, but it will also give you a amount that you can use, customized amount for like your co-payments, any kind of medical expenses that you can use. And there are allowable expenses you can look up too, even before you decide to tap into an HSA, to save you money and save you some of the expenses that you know you're going to deal with on a regular basis when it comes to medical. And when I talk medical, I talk dental and vision too, even though I know that when it comes to your traditional PPO plans and stuff like that, these are a separate expense. So anytime we're dealing with any type of health, at some point or another, if we are not on top of this, and when I say that, getting the regular checkups, not waiting to see doctors or a dentist or an eye doctor, you will save yourself money in the long run. And these are your preventative measures. So with there being 8% of U.S. adults having medical debt, and 14% of medical debts are above $10,000, I know statistically the debt's there because of what I do. And I also know that these numbers are not lying to us. And these numbers speak volume. So if you can do anything after seeing this concerning debt in general, let's study our traditional expenses, especially any type of medical debt, and see exactly where we are and where we should be going. Let's say you deal with eczema and you know that you're having to see a dermatologist, or your children are having to see a dermatologist, or you have a particular bill for Eucerin or whatever type of Diva or whatever type of more expensive lotions or creams and oils and therapy and treatment and so many other things that we can be doing. That's where you'll be able to tap into some of these funds beforehand with an HSA and getting regular checkups so you can adjust and start to do the things that you need to do so it doesn't get so severe that you do have to run to the ER because skin is cracking. And as you can see, I'm familiar with eczema and there's sores and things have gotten worse than they need to be. So if anything, stay on top of it, study these expenses, figure out what works best for you. And when you're going in to see your doctor on a regular basis, you don't always have to have an x-ray. You don't always have to see the specialist, but do your homework. And if you are currently dealing with a large medical debt and you don't know how to deal with it, maybe your co-pays have piled up because you were missing them and you weren't paying them, or some unexpected ER visit, just know that if you reach out, at least in Omaha, Nebraska, you will be able to deal with someone in that billing department who will let you know your options. But what you don't want to do with medical debt is you don't want to run from it and not pay it, because they do have third-party agencies that will step in, and I have seen in Omaha, Nebraska, that they can sue and they will sue if they have to. Don't let it get that far. Know that our hospitals and organizations, the majority of them, even the ones state to state that I've dealt with, there is some type of financial hardship where they can help you. But don't run from it. Be honest and try to negotiate according to your financial analysis. And if you need help, if you find me on this show, I will speak with you for free. So I want to make sure you know that. But you got to mention this TV station, okay? You got to mention this show. Now let's segue away from medical debt just for a minute. And I want to talk about student loans while I have time, especially with everything that's been up in the air with the Biden administration getting ready to forgive $20,000, not being able to forgive. Some people's loans are being forgiven, other folks' loans are not being forgiven. Do I consolidate my student loans? Do I not consolidate them? Do I just pay my loans? I think we can all attest that after this whole COVID thing and student loans and the Biden administration, we need to, once again, one thing you're going to hear about me is study this information and see what works best for you. And I'll even tell you, you don't even have to take my solo advice. I want you to be able to look in and find out what your state is doing and what the government can do for you concerning your student loans and whether they're private or government loans. You need to find out what type of student loan it is. Now, with student loans, the average student loan debt. So according to nerdwallet.com, 54% of bachelor degree recipients graduated with student debt. And this is just numbers being pulled from 2020 to 2021. According to the most recent data available for the College Board, among these graduates, the average student debt burden was $29,000. And that's the average, you guys. So if it's graduate school, $77,000. So on average, like your Parent Plus loan debt, that's $29,000. Law school debt, $132,000. I like to use ballpark figures, give or take a few hundred, you guys. MBA student debt, this is average, $51,000. And I can go on and on, you guys, but like I said, when they're pulling these numbers and the sources behind these numbers, there is roughly 43 million Americans that have federal student loan debt. And about 13% of the U.S. population, this is per census data. 24 and younger, the total outstanding student loan debt, are you ready for this? I want you to brace yourself. It's 100 billion with 7.1 million borrowers. That's our babies. That's 24 and younger. Just 25 to 34, age 25 to age 34, 491.4 billion. That's 15 million borrowers. As you can see, the numbers go higher and higher. So I'm going to skip 50 and older, and I'm going to tell you 62 and older. It's in the billions. Imagine yourself 62. We're looking towards retirement, right? This is where everyone's getting ready to finally rest. 62 and older, there are 2.7 million borrowers that have over 109.8 billion in student loan debt. What does that say to me as someone who owns a debt relief company and helps with debt elimination and credit education? What it says, we have to pump our brakes before we borrow money. Even if it's student loan debt, even if Biden and them are going to decide to forgive millions of it, we have to stop and we have to start to really weigh our options. Wisdom will trump ignorance every time. There's something that we're doing as Americans, and this is my opinion, Debt Diva, my opinion, that if we are graduating and then we're finding ourselves at retirement age still owing thousands of dollars worth of debt, something somewhere is not working. So what I ask people to do, especially our youth, is to weigh your options before you just dive in and go for these degrees. Make sure this is something that you will be able to pay back. And I thank goodness now that they make you go through a little bit of training before you can even sign off on federal government educational loans. Back in the 90s, when I started, we didn't have that much information. We were almost being coerced into get this degree, you'll make a lot of money after you have this, an associate's degree. You want to make more money? Get your bachelor's degree. You need more money? Get your master's degree. And as you can see, it goes on. And what happens is the loans are stopped. They get set aside only to face you again after each graduation. And every graduation, we're looking for that phenomenal job that's going to help us eliminate this debt. And then we find out more debt. Then we have families, and then we're buying homes, and the debt is just getting bigger and bigger, and the interest rate that we didn't pay attention to when we signed off on these loans has almost got as large or larger than the loan itself. I was just looking at a client's case who owes $61,000. By the time this person is done paying off this faithfully, no late payments or anything, just interest, they will owe over they will have paid over $137,000 on a $61,000 loan. Parents, adults, youth advisors, youth professionals, teachers, let's start to educate our youth, and let's start to ourselves investigate the debt that we have gotten ourselves in, and start speaking with the right people how to get out of this debt. It's not rocket science. Urban League, which is a phenomenal organization, teaches young professionals and our youth right here in Omaha, Nebraska, bridges out of poverty, so many other phenomenal. The Business Connection, Nebraska, with B.C. Clark, and so many other people you can connect to who are teaching financial literacy and are there to help people get out of debt. I want to make sure when you go to look into your student loan debt that you do go to the federal government website so that you are not put in a position to be misinformed. That's one thing you do not want. It's going to be studentaid.gov. And when you go to this website, I assure you, you can find out about repayment plans. You can find out about the SAVE plan. You can find out if you need to stay with your current servicer, if you need to consolidate, and so much more. So we touched a little bit on medical debt. We touched a little bit on student loan debt. Now let's make sure we study these debts. If we have these debts and we connect to the right resources right here in Omaha, Nebraska. Okay? And if you have questions or concerns, like I said, if you mention this station, hey, Debt Diva, I seen you on TV. I got a question about connecting with someone concerning my medical debt or my student loan debt. You can reach me at 1-888-568-6312. Okay? And we'll have that on the screen as well. So I want to shift because I only have a few minutes and it's not going to take a lot of time. The third one is auto loans. So the history of the lender concerning auto loans, we will buy an expensive car before we buy a house. Americans shoulder right now $1.62 trillion in auto loan debt. And that's just according to our first quarter of 2024. And this report is on household debt and credit from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. I know a little bit about automobile debt because that was one of my biggest crutches growing up. I always wanted to have the shiny car, and it is truly an illusion of wealth. Get you an automobile that's reliable. If you can, pay cash. You'll speak with a lot of wealthy people who do not invest in automobiles. It's a depreciating asset. As soon as you drive it off the lot, if it's brand new, when the rubber hits the road, it depreciates $10,000. Keep that in mind. That's not an investment. It's okay to drive what some people call a beater until you can get on your feet and buy or negotiate and get the ride that you so rightly deserve to be in. But don't do it before it's time, especially my youth. Don't jump into a $500 a month car payment because you also have probably a $400 a month because of your age auto insurance payment. And that doesn't even include here in Nebraska the sales tax, the maintenance, and so much more. I have a dear friend, Candace Price, who owns Home Team Auto Sales on 60th and Swanson. And what they're doing, they're not only putting people in reliable automobiles, but they're also setting up to be able to help people with home ownership, financial literacy, and so much more. They have alliances with many of the nonprofits here in Omaha, Nebraska. So if you're looking for a car and you have transportation barriers and have absolutely limited funds, almost no money, You can check out Chariots for Hope. If they can help you, let them know Lana Solutions referred you. But if you are a little bit further and you are working and you have a job and somewhat good credit, come see Home Team Auto Sales and they'll be able to assist you. And if they can't put you in a car right away, let them know Nicole Debt Diva with Lana Solutions sent you that way. Like I said, these are people that I've even vetted and trust. That's all I have for you today, or this evening, depending on, what time you're watching this. I'll repeat myself over and over again. When it comes to debt elimination and credit education, we have to do the homework and we have to start to study our expenses, you guys. We don't even know what to budget or what to save for or what to even invest if we don't first take the time and start to look at the debt and look at the expenses. And then, if you are educated enough to make the right decision, go purchase the auto, go purchase the insurance, go purchase the home, the education, the medical, and have yourself a beautiful day or evening, depending on what time you're watching it. It's your girl, Nicole Ryan with Lana Solutions, your finance advocate. On this show, your debt diva. Until next time, reach out if you need me.